I have like a calendar, just 3 simple rules to follow every day. If I follow my rules for 80% of the days, then my prize is I get to go to a Michelin star restaurant that month. So that's what I'm doing going forward, because that is my motivation.
Tacosi, sister.
Welcome back, Tanya.
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Great, great, great. Thank you for sending me the pictures to your trip to Croatia. That's one of those trips that you'll never forget.
Definitely. It was good to go back. It's definitely a weird adjustment coming back to New York City after all that, after being at the beach and like on a remote island, and then like the next day I had like one day in between, and then I went to the US Open. I was like, I just like shifted reality is really there.
Oh, how fun is that? Well, welcome back to reality. Welcome back to the screens. When I would come back from a long vacation, I always had a difficult transition, so I would always trade less, trade smaller until I kind of worked my way into, back into that trader mindset. So I would always trade smaller, just kind of hang around a little bit, segue my way back into that. So, I mean, you're not me, but take it easy while you're getting back into the swing of things.
Yeah, definitely. Like I started trading again, like pretty much like the day after Labor Day more actively. Basically took like 6 trades and I started streaming back, and it was good. I think I sized maybe like 70% or 60% of my normal size, going with like 2 NQ contracts. But it was kind of interesting. I think this isn't enough to establish a pattern, but I think it was interesting that each day last week, my first trade was a loser, and then my second trade was the winner that like brought me to green. I would still take those first trades again, but I thought that was just interesting. So it does require a lot of mental strength to still take that second trade in front of everybody, and still put that risk down. If it's like worth the risk, if the chart's telling me, screaming at me, you have to take the trade, I still have to take it. But it's still like that threshold to get over for sure. Yeah, so I'm looking at my daily charts for Nasdaq and ES. I thought it was interesting that ES hit new all-time highs twice before Nasdaq has reached them. On Friday, it looked like, we had like a pop-up in the morning, then it dragged down the rest of the day, right? Now we're sort of in the middle of Friday's candle, and it shows that there's like, no matter what, like it just seems like the shorts can't really hold up. Like every short is pretty short-lived, even after versus a high and a little bit of divergence at all-time highs. We're reaching back up quite a bit since then, and we just can't sustain and make new lows since then. So definitely, like you guys have said, it's more of a bullish market. We're continuing to make those all-time highs, even if you have some short-term news that might seem bearish. Like we just continue to come all the way back up and then take out the recent swing high. So I have to now just kind of be patient here, as we did open up in the middle of a large candle. It does remind me of this day here. There's last Wednesday, where we did open up on, you can see on like ES and Nasdaq, pretty much in the middle of the previous candle that had a large day. So I think that today could potentially be an inside candle. If I go for targets, I'm probably going to go for like hourly targets, London session highs and lows, or even like pre-market highs or lows and things like that. And just kind of like reframing that in my mind beforehand, because I wouldn't really want to, against such a sharp high over there, sharp low and a sharp high, it's harder to trade against those versus if they're equal lows and clear key levels or liquidity levels to aim for. So that's what I'm kind of thinking about this morning. And then also keeping in mind, it's Monday with no news. And we have CPI later this week, PPI later this week, along with you guys saying that the volume is going to increase later this week with rollover coming up. So today could be kind of like a building up of liquidity and just more of a consolidation or an inside day. So I'm kind of neutral to bullish today. I went to 2 Michelin star restaurants when I was in Croatia. That was really good. One was on the walls of Dubrovnik called 360, and that was really cool because those walls are made in like the 14th century. And then the other one, which I think they deserve 2 Michelin stars now, was called Pellegrini in Šibenik. It was really good. I mean, they make their own olive oil. They collaborate with local wineries to make their own like specific wine for that meal. So I thought that was cool. That's what I'm doing right now is to focus more on the process. I have like a calendar, just 3 simple rules to follow every day. And if I follow those rules, I get a green check on my calendar. If I don't, then I put a red X. And then if I follow my rules for 80% of the days in the month, then my prize is I get to go to a Michelin star restaurant that month. So that's what I'm doing going forward because that is my motivation. And they're like process-driven rules. One of the rules, for example, is I need at least an 80% sleep score, which I do today. I have an 85. You guys, though, if I get 8 hours of sleep, then I really feel like I'm like a superhuman. Like, I feel like I am in the Matrix. I can see those bullets coming. I can like short then long and whatever, flip by is no problem. Everything starts with your sleep, right? Because your sleep regulates your emotions and also stores your memory. We had quite the wick in the last 15-minute candle here. Yeah, you guys, this is a FAFO market kind of. Yeah, F around, find out, you know? I'm just looking at like the ES on the first 30 seconds to see what packs and other people who trade like the opening range. And I don't know exactly how they trade, but I do know that ES is barely left. You can see the opening range is a large part of the entire range of the day. So it literally shows that we're just choppy. Where's the drama? Where's the speed? And you just have to wait for higher impact news. Like, I mean, Friday was NFP, right? And then that was large range. You don't have any sharp reversals. Every like candle, even on the way down where Nasdaq has kind of faded a bit down, it's just been very grindy. Now, hopefully the summer trading is behind us. I mean, September was off to a good start. Last week was pretty good with the ranges. Today, I did come in pre-market, said I didn't expect much. Expect it to be a inside day, which we are, right? If you go to the daily. And that doesn't mean you won't find a trade at all. It just means that it might be harder. I'd have to take smaller targets because I wouldn't want to go for an outside day, right? I wouldn't want to really. That's why I didn't really go long, right? Because I didn't want to aim for that high Friday high for Nasdaq. I feel like it's asking for a lot in a day that I think could be a choppier day. Then I'd get, stopped out if I trailed stops or just stopped out in general because it's just not a clean day. And you can see probably here that's going to end up happening to anyone that trailed a stop here. So what are we going to do, guys? I don't know. You can just do nothing, to be honest, or you just wait. You keep being patient. Let me put the ATR real quick. Indicators, ATR. Yeah, the ATR for Nasdaq is 326 points for the day on the daily. So far, we moved 230 total. What is it for ES? ATR, I like to just look at the last 5 days, though. ES 66.3. I think I had talked about ATR before, like plenty of times before when I was a NinjaTrader. But recently, this is what I've realized. I was using it in a different way before. Now I'm starting to use it in a different way because essentially what I'm looking at is if by like 10 a.m., have we like expanded to about the full like ATR of the day? Like if yes, then actually that's a good sign for more volatility and perhaps more action. Because if it's already 10 a.m. and we already moved a bunch, like it's actually more likely that we are going to move. So that's what I talked about also with kind of taking a pulse on the action the first 15 minutes of the day. And we definitely barcoding and super slow. So that kind of gives you a pulse for the rest of the session, especially if there's no news. It's kind of different if there is 10 a.m. news release, if there's red folder news, because that will happen, we'll consolidate before 10 a.m. high impact news. And then there might be an injection of volatility after that. But yeah, on the contrary, then if the ATR we've reached like 2/3 of the day's ATR and like just the New York session's like 1/3 of it, it makes me think like, oh, we're more likely to just stay within this range and consolidate. So then I'd rather take different kinds of trades, like reversals at the edges of the ranges rather than continuation trades. So it kind of helps me with my expectations for the rest of the session. Before, I was looking at ATR thinking like, oh, we only hit like 200 points so far for the day on Nasdaq and the ATR is 300. So we could go another 100 points up, technically. Well, if I'm coming in already and expecting it to be lower than average range day, like what I said with thinking it might be an inside day, we had a really large day on Friday. no news Monday, higher impact news later in the week. That all points to probably going to have that lower range day, smaller range day. So helps manage those expectations to not go for like continuation trades at the edges of the range when you're already near the edge of the range. It's less likely to work out, right? The way that the market looks so far today, you're just not getting much. It's a snooze fest. But hey, give yourself a pat on the back if like you didn't take a trade and you followed your rules. If you didn't take your trade because like your own system didn't give you an entry, you stayed out of the action. Because like you're forging discipline just by watching this barcode. You're forging discipline because honestly, yeah, trading is boring. It's 90% of the time you're sitting there, you're waiting for your setup to happen. And sometimes it doesn't happen, right? So I always just try to remember, all right, like if it's a day you didn't take a trade and you made no money, like it's better than losing money, right? When you get an easier environment, easier direction to work with, indices are more in sync, you have high impact news, then that's where you make the big bucks, right?
This presentation is for educational purposes only. All of the symbols, trading ideas, and live trading are for demonstrational purposes and are not recommendations or trading advice. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. All of the information and opinions expressed by third-party guests are their own and are not necessarily those of NinjaTrader, LLC. Trading futures involves substantial risk and may not be suitable for everyone, and trading futures can result in losses greater than the initial required margin. Traders should only trade futures with risk capital. Risk capital is money that you can afford to lose without jeopardizing your financial security or current lifestyle. You can find additional disclosure information on the NinjaTrader website.